Kenya, wanauchumi wako hapa. First of all, as we talk about economics, watu wa chemistry, physics, they go into laboratories. But the laboratory of economists is history. What we go to look at whether it worked or not, policies especially, we go back to history. The beauty about it is that also we are very empirical in nature. That whatever theory I may give you, figures then come to ratify whatever I am saying. And therefore it is important we use both. Where is Kenya now? So that even as we talk about our input as economists, we see where Kenya is, where our entry point could be. Last year, and I know you know because some of you actually work also for the National Treasury, Kenyan GDP grew by around 5.5%. There are some quarters that would say it's 5%, but either way, whichever source, it is around 5% to 5.5%. Now, if you tabulate comparatively, Kenya was number 28 in terms of the fastest growing economy in the world. That's one. It is important for us to underline that. A country like China, yes, it's big and has been growing in bouts and in double digits even previously. Last year, Kenya grew faster than China. Yes, I agree it's a big economy, but I am also saying figures are important to refer to. This year, Kenya is projected to grow at around 5.5 to 5.7%. Even China itself will be growing at around 5%. It is also modest and good. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, we are privileged, that there is a lot of work to be done in our economy, but at the very least, we are starting off at a very good pedestal. Second thing, and especially I'm referencing on my own experiences also, as the chairman of budget and as a person who's been very integral into the policies that we've been making, and especially in our government led by our president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto. And to say the same, I remember when we won, then I was very upbeat about the kind of thing we want to do. And we started meeting in Karen, where the official residence of the deputy president was then before he moved to State House as president. And we started meeting the National Treasury now to get where is Kenya? And I'm trying to relate all those figures together. And at some point, of course, the economic advisors of the president, you know them. At one point, David Ndii was there for a meeting we had held from 10 a.m. to next day at around 4 a.m. 4 in the morning. We had a meeting in a tent. Then darkness came and almost light came the following morning. So David Ndii was asking the president, after we now knew exactly how the economy was, then he was asking the president, tukipewa nafasi ingine utapigania hii kiti? Because we thought it was very easy to come and run things because we thought they were the way we were seeing them. But I'm not trying to push any blame anywhere. That is not my domain. I just want us to understand the scenarios. Even those who are there did their best, and we applaud them for that. Now, our inflation was almost double digit, if you remember, in 2022. Of course, the inflation rate, our interest rate was slightly lower. And I'm talking about all these jargons because I'm sure everyone here understands them. So we had something to do. One, we had to make our economy grow in terms of GDP because that's the only measure we know of growing whether an economy is growing. Second, us and the regulators around the whole fabric, we needed to regulate the three critical markets. The three critical markets, and especially under the domain of the central bank, one being the prices of commodities, which we measure through inflation. The second market is the market of exchange rate, which we measure by how our currency is faring comparatively to other currencies. And the other market was the market of money. How expensive or cheap is money? So those three things were very important for us. And that is why I started with GDP. So, you know, we have a delicate thing to do, and especially when your position is dependent on votes. Because as you do the right thing, it also has to make sense to everyone. So when we started crafting these issues, one thing that was very, very heated by that time is that there was scarcity of food in the country. So we were almost leading people who are hungry, and a hungry man is an angry man. So we had to look at that market very fast. And I am happy. There are some of the things that we did. And I am being this blunt because everyone here is a policymaker in one way or the other in their institutions. So in the market of commodities, that is inflation, how were we to do for the inflation not to go to 10% upwards to come lower? Two issues. One is fiscal policy, the other one is monetary policy. On the fiscal side, the issue was about production. Because as you know, the whole of global ecosystem, inflation was up because of COVID that brought a lot of money in the market through interventions by various governments. And then those interventions created more demand, and more demand created higher prices. So that's one. Second, disruption of supply chains. So what we did is that we looked inwards. That yes, Kenya is here as a country, which is part of the globe, but we are on our own also. So fiscal policy number one on food production. That is why you hear the issue about fertilizer. And I am glad now, at least as we lead, stomachs are not very bad. The second issue was exchange rate. Exchange rate is also a composition of many things. It is a composition of fiscal policy and also monetary policy. But then they are all intertwined. That is why I am summarizing all of them together. Because the same sword, the same toolbox that you get tools to deal with exchange rate is the same tools that you use for monetary policy, and somehow also they are the same that you use for inflation. So exchange rate, we looked at it fiscally in terms of balance of payment, and especially in the current account. If I become too jargonistic, you can tell me, but I can see we are all together. So on the fiscal side, you deal with the current account, export imports. How are we to make our exports better? We haven't yet succeeded, but we are headed in that direction. So we tabulated what we import most. One of the things we import most, number one, is fuel, Yamagari na industries. Second highest import in the country is edible oils. Close to 150 billion shillings every year in edible oils. Hii mafuta wazee tunapikiwa nayo hapo jikoni, an aggregation of that, Kenya spends 150 billion every year to import that. So what were we to do then? Try to do import substitution. If you look at our budget previously and now, we are dealing with fiscal side inputs around edible oils. You will see sunflower there, you will see canola there, and anything else that assists Kenya in being at least close to self-sufficient in terms of edible oils. Then the last one, summarizing all the three markets. Now we were here, we wanted the shilling to gain. But on the other side, we also want inflation to come down. But on this other side, then you have interest rate to deal with. Now we have seen in the market, we have succeeded in bringing down inflation. We have also succeeded in strengthening our currency. But on the monetary side, then you see that our money is very expensive. Our interest rate is high. But why do that? It's because as economists, you know that you cannot be expansionary as an economy and contractionary at the same time. You can't eat your cake and have it. So you can't be expansionary here giving money through tax breaks and the rest, and at the same time, you are being contractionary. So, exchange rate, we had to raise the interest rate. Why? As I said before, exchange rate is a component of two major things: the current account and the capital account. So the current account you sort through fiscal policy. But the capital account, you are dealing with net capital inflows. But what determines net capital inflows? It is CI minus CO. Capital inflow minus capital outflow. Then you are here as Kenya having money. It's here. Kenyan money is here. US has raised the Fed for 11 times consecutively to 5.525%, crossing to 5.5%. The Bank of England is here raising interest rates. All the other economies are raising interest rates. Kenya is part of the world or the globe where, to some extent, capital permeates. So you are here now as central bank. And one of the components that will make your currency strong is when you have demand for your local currencies and less demand for the other currencies. So that is the reason why the CBK had to raise our interest rate to where it is now. So that you with money in Kenya and you are looking for fixed income instruments, you do not need to go for a dollar fixed instrument. You can still invest in Kenya shillings, get the amount that is now available in our markets, and therefore protect outflow, even if you don't attract a lot of inflows. And that is the whole ecosystem around where our economy is.